Well, your brain can't tell the difference between a truth and a lie, essentially. If you can visualize an experience that hasn't happened, you know, in your brain, it can't tell the difference. So now keep repeating that, and you're retraining your brain.
It's pretty crazy. Did you used to visualize the races?
Yeah, I did. When I was a kid in go-karts, I would sit there on the cooler and close my eyes, and I would visualize the perfect lap, like once or twice at least. And especially before qualifying, as I got older, I would visualize the perfect lap of how I wanted it to go and how I wanted the car to feel.
How do you deal with pressure? There's so much pressure going into a race, so many eyes on you, sponsors, dollars on the line. How do you tune that out, or how do you process it? What do you do with that?
Race car drivers have a big job in the sense that before the race, like, we entertain sponsors. You're going to do meet and greets. You're standing at the car getting photos before the race starts. So, you know, you really have to be able to compartmentalize that and then the job and be able to flip the switch back and forth between, like, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Good. You want to get a picture? Cool. All right. Hi, how are you? Oh, are you good? Okay, cool. And that was a kid, by the way. And then, you know, take your picture and then be able to get in the car and just, you know. I will say that anybody I met at the racetrack and they tell me, oh, I met you at a race, I'm like, yeah, I don't usually remember those people. Probably because I was only allowing a certain amount of mental energy to be, you know, attentive to them. Yeah, you have to flip the switch back and forth for sure a lot.
Do you have a ritual for that? How do you actually flip the switch?
You have to have enough emotional energy to do it. Right? So I felt like if I was tapped with the entertaining side of things, it made it harder to be able to get into the focused state or kind of stay in it essentially, but like pop into these moments of when I had to do something else. For me, I have to be able to maintain enough energy. So a lot of the things that it had to do with is like just knowing yourself and knowing that, okay, if I go out to dinner and hang out with everybody and then there's a bunch of people at the racetrack I have to entertain, like, you have to have the discretion and the awareness to be able to, like, say no to one thing or another thing, or be able to go inside the bus and not feel guilty that you're not hanging out with everybody outside, and just know that that's because you have to protect your energy if you're going to be able to do everything that you need to do that day. And essentially it came down to really just the obligations.
Do you have other things like that you use to be able to move so swiftly from one area of your life to another?
I'm not a big fan of like 911 fire drill kind of stuff, so I like to get in the mindset, right? So I like to know what I need, what I have to do, which is hard to flow because, you know, you're like, oh, this is what's going to happen. This is my story on expectation levels. I have this expression, this saying for myself that expectations are a mother, you know what? Because when they're not met, you're disappointed. But I do feel like it helps me to get into a mindset or a space, a mental space, when I set my mind on something. Another example would be like, even from a broader spectrum mind situation, would be when I finished racing, I wasn't like when I was racing, I was scared of what was going on, but go to the Indy 500 this year and I was part of the broadcast and people had asked about the fear part, and I was much more aware of it then because I know how hard it was. I know how fast we were going, and I'm watching everybody do it, and I'm like, God, I was brave. not brave Danica there. But it wasn't something I allowed into my mental space. So there's certain situations I think that you have going on where you're just not allowed to think about it, right? If you've got a huge week and you're really busy, you wrap your head around that, right? Just like I had to wrap my head around everything but the fact that it was super dangerous. So I don't know.
How do you shut off to that?
Get allowed
this is one of those things.
Certain things.
If you want to talk about a course that you could charge a lot of money for, it would be how to, when somebody tells you don't think about a pink elephant, to actually not think about the pink elephant. Mm-hmm. Because as you're going towards a race, your mind wants to throw up all the fear, all the danger, all of that. And if that's the one thing you can't think of, in fact, here's the example that I use, and this is perfect. You can tell me if this is actually true. I always tell people, if you were going to be a race car driver, they tell you not to look at the wall because you're going to end up crashing into it specifically because you're looking at it. Do they actually tell you that? Do you avoid looking at the wall?
When I was a kid, my dad, he was my coach, essentially. He's my dad. Of course he's my coach. He still tries to be my coach for anything. But, you know, you're racing and you can turn around and look in the go-kart And he used to get so pissed at me. And he would say, and I actually used, this was probably the most valuable thing I ever learned in my life, because it was it was a metaphor for everything. And he said, you look where your eyes go. And I was like, and he's like, so look forward, don't turn around. And I was like, okay. But isn't that a metaphor for everything? You look where your eyes go, just like where your mind goes. Wherever you set your point of reference on, your mental attention, your focus, that is where you're going. How are you going to have a positive life from negative thoughts? You can't, because you're going to perpetuate more negative thoughts. And you're going to attract vibrationally and frequency-wise people that are thinking that same way. So if you want to expand and grow and rise and meet new people and do bigger, better things, then you've got to think about what you do want, not what you don't want. So 100%, if you're looking at the wall, you're going there.
Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world to me. So you're on the cooler, eyes are closed, you're imagining the track, and whatever the future version of that is. What is the thing that you're putting your energy into to make sure that you don't have the extra focus to let the fear in? Is it truly just a visualization of the way that the laps go, the way the car feels? Is there something else? And how can people apply that to whatever they do, which probably isn't race car driving?
But I think it applies to everything, you know, like the putting your focus on what it is that you do want. So obviously I don't race anymore, but you know, for me, many mornings I wake up, and it's because I wake up really early and I'm drinking my coffee by myself. But I'll start writing down certain things that are working for me, and I'll almost try and avoid the things that aren't working for me. And I'll just think about what I want and feelings I want to have and goals that I have. And you know, I almost try and keep them a little broad spectrum towards an emotion or feeling, as opposed to an attachment to a specific outcome, because I'm not the universe. I don't know how it's supposed to go, and who's to say that my idea of the right outcome is right? Maybe there's a better way. So attach yourself to and your focus to the kind of feeling you want to have and the things that you want to do with your life. And, you know, whether it's inspire kids or, you know, help people expand their mind, or things that you want to do. Feel like you want adventure, you want, you know, joy, you want passion, you want excitement, whatever it is. And then let the universe find the very best way to experience all those feelings that you've set the intention for.
So it sounds like you journal quite a bit. How long have you been doing that?
I actually remember writing a lot when I was younger. Then I didn't for a while, so that's much more common now. I find that especially, I mean, it's been years, but more now, more since I've stopped racing, I'd say.
And this is a way to control your focus.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never heard anybody that focuses primarily on the emotions that they want to feel. That's interesting. Do you believe in fate?
Such an interesting topic. I mean, fate would assume that it's predestined.
Yes. That's what I'm asking.
I'm one of those people that is always evolving, and I'm happy to say that what I thought of in the past is not what I think now, and I don't feel like I'm being hypocritical. I'm just learning and growing and experiencing and taking in additional information, because you can only make decisions based on the information you have, and so when you get more, you have to be ready to make a new decision. I mean, I believe fate based on your frequency.
Can you define frequency for me?
Your sort of your vibration level, your energy, your
and is that
ability
dictated by thought?
Yeah, thought and positive thoughts. I can't remember what the scale is called, but basically for the thoughts that you have, you know, the middle bottom being like envy, greed, fear, jealousy, and then above that middle threshold is love and, you know, generosity and gratefulness and kindness and joy, those being the higher frequency energies. And so for me, I try and focus on the higher ones because that's what I want to attract more of. So I think that if you are operating in a lower vibrational state based on your negative energy that you're repeating over and over again and telling yourself certain stories over and over again, and and believing, then that's kind of your fate. Your fate will be dictated by the thoughts that you have reoccurring in your mind.
Man, that was
So
so
I guess
interesting.
maybe not pure fate then, to give, because I don't like to not give an answer. So
No, that was amazing.
I think it's hard for me to wrap my head around you don't have control. But man, I mean, I believe in reincarnation.
Really?
Yeah, so I mean, as far as like coming into this lifetime and learning certain lessons, I guess what I would feel about that is that when you come back into this life, like you come back and I believe my job is to learn and grow, and it shouldn't be easy. If it's difficult, you're probably getting better, because there's no growth without pain. Otherwise, you're just status quo. So the biggest growth for me has always come through total difficulty, total challenge, total effing mess, total crying, like all the stuff that's super difficult.
Why do you think that is? Why through pain? And what are some lessons that you've learned through pain?
Well, because you're essentially breaking, patterns. You're having new thoughts. The old ones are going to have to die. Like I always think, like as far as an example would be like a relationship. Relationship ending is, sad, right? But what if a better one's coming? What if that's all you thought about? Pretty good stuff then. You're like, see ya. But we're attached to the idea that we had in our head for so long. We have to let the ideas and dreams that we have to let them die. And that dying process is hard. I think that's the painful part.
So is some of the pain
like changing your job. You're like, I'll never see these people again. And oh my God, what if I don't get a better job? And what if I don't get paid? And all you're thinking about is all the stuff that's bad. What if you're going to get a better job and you're going to get paid more money and you're going to meet new people and you're going to move to a place you'd rather live? And
is that what you're telling yourself as you're going through this? Do you rapidly switch the narrative?
So you had asked earlier about change, and I lost my train of thought. So if it didn't sound like my answer was good, that's why. I lost my train of thought on change. And so I immediately think like everyone else with change. I'm like, wow, that sucks. But then I think I have the ability to flip the switch pretty quickly to it could be better than I ever expect. I have no idea how that's going to look, but how will I ever know if I don't give it a shot?
It's really powerful. So looking at the level of success that you've had, I know there's going to be a lot of things, but if you had to just put one thing about you that is like the pinnacle trait, the thing that without that definitively everything else would fall apart. And again, knowing that it's actually several things, but what would you say is at the very top?
Well, it's tough to tell the difference between a dream and determination. I don't think it really matters if you have determination without a purpose. So probably dream. I would have always said determination because I kind of was just doing one thing. But yeah, I just have the ability to dream into things and believe it's possible.
I like that. Where can people find out more about you?
Well, I mean, social media is a great thing for that. I mean, especially for me at this point in my career where I'm not on TV every single weekend for a few days and don't have a microphone stuck in my face. Social media is a great platform for that, as far as Instagram, which is the one I'm mostly involved on, and Twitter and Facebook. We post a lot more broad spectrum stuff on Facebook. And then, I have a website and it's all my name. And pretty soon the podcast is coming out, which will just really show more of me and the things that I believe in. And also, of course, how can I not think, how the hell did I get here? And then try and share that.
No, I love that. I'm super excited for your podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. What is the impact that you want to have on the world?
I want to wake people up to their potential. I want to wake them up to realizing that we could have argued about this, but you said 50% is there and 50% is available for your own to make a change. But I would argue that anything is possible, and that we are all one decision away from an entirely different life.